Good evening. I'm Dominick, diCarlo, and this is Solidarity News Brief, bringing you news highlighting the dignity of human life from conception until natural death. Tonight, I'm very excited to bring you a special program. We're going to be having an interview tonight with Duane Loynes Jr., who is the American Solidarity Party's candidate for the California governor's race in this fall election. Duane, it's great to have you with us. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Do you mind if I call you Duane? Is that all right?
Oh, yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Great. Fantastic. First of all, just could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background? How did you end up in this position, running for governor, and anything you want to share with us?
Sure. So I'm Duane Loynes Jr. I'm originally from Tennessee, where I was raised, and I am a recent graduate of Loyola Marymount University, where I majored in screenwriting and minored in Asian studies. And I found the American Solidarity Party during my junior year. That's when, or actually slightly before my junior year, that's when I learned about the party's existence. And I got involved the next year when I learned that the party was actually having a gathering in Los Angeles for the 2024 presidential candidate, Peter Sansky. And so I was able to go to that, and that's how I got connected with the California chapter of the party, and I got to meet the many great people who eventually encouraged me to think about running for governor.
Fantastic. Now, you're the American Solidarity Party's candidate for governor of California. What is the American Solidarity Party?
So the American Solidarity Party, it's a Christian democratic political party, and it primarily emphasizes human dignity, the common good, and community-centered politics. It's often described as being center-right on social issues and center-left on economic issues, or socially conservative or fiscally liberal. Those are other ways of basically saying the same thing. And the party champions the consistent life ethic. And so what we mean with that rhetorically is not only does the party oppose certain things like abortion, but also assisted suicide, capital punishment, unjust war, and we have our support for things like universal health care and welfare. So pro-life for the whole life, and our policies that we champion to support life do not end after birth.
So looking out for the unborn, but also those, who have been born.
Exactly.
Fantastic. How do you see that as being different than what the other parties have to offer in California?
Well, I recently heard somebody who I thought put it pretty brilliantly in terms of how it differs from what the Republican Party has to offer when they talk about pro-life. Mm-hmm. And they said that it's pro-life with an asterisk attached to it. And if you go to that specific footnote, it says terms and conditions apply underneath pro-life. But what we're trying to say is we don't cherry pick certain life issues. Mm-hmm. If you're going to describe yourself as pro-life, then the label is consistent concern for life and human dignity. And that's what I think separates us from many of the other parties that are offered nationally and, of course, in California.
Fantastic. What made you choose to run for governor? What was the impetus behind this that decision for you personally?
Well, I was first approached about it in this past August when I went to an event that was held for the ASP in California. And when it was brought up to me, the idea of me running in the first place, I at first wasn't really sure about it, but I had time to think about it for the next few weeks, next few months, actually, and repeated conversations with people who, were encouraging me to do so, kept reminding me about how such a campaign would aid the party in being able to attract people whose worldviews are similar to what the party offers, and about how it would help to just make it more visible to anyone who feels like they're missing out on on voting for their actual beliefs rather than just having to compromise. And so when I thought about all of that, I felt like it would be a really good thing to do for the party's benefit, but also because I want to see I want to see the party succeed because of my personal values and my beliefs. Mm-hmm. And, having the opportunity to do so, I thought was really good.
Yeah, what are some of those issues for you personally,
Mhm.
that stand out that to you as being important?
Sure. So, as I mentioned before, with the consistent life ethic or pro life for the whole life ethic, I was really, really disappointed when I was uh, exploring different socially conservative parties and groups that had pro life in bold in a lot of their statements and a lot of their or it was the first thing they mentioned in a lot of their speeches. But I continued to, or I realized that it didn't seem to extend beyond a certain point of going to healthcare or going to solving homelessness
Mm,
or anything like that. And
mhm,
I was looking for a party that was able to put both of the ideas of, standing firm on certain issues about how we respect life in terms of uh, care for the mother when and the baby when it comes to birth, but also what do we do when that same baby that we champion life for grows up and they're not able to find a job, they're homeless, they feel left out by our economic system, and I didn't really feel like they had an answer to that, but the ASP did,
mm.
and so that's what spoke to me and drew me to think that my values are amplified here.
Great. It seems to many of us, including us here at Solidarity News Brief, that on the national level, at any rate, our two political party system is fundamentally broken.
Mhm.
Do you have any thoughts on that? And do you agree with that? Do you have any thoughts on what we could maybe do to fix it?
Yeah, the way that the system is set up now, I feel like one of the things that it can make someone believe is that their vote is being wasted. It sort of winner takes all. So if you vote for a third party, you feel like you didn't really have a voice in the system.
Mm,
Uh, you or what you said and what you believe in doesn't really count. So a party either has the most support or you're able to do well if you rank second in support, but after that you don't really have any representation in government at all, and I think that's really unfortunate. And there are many different uh, ideas that people throw around when it comes to fixing it. One idea that I'm fond of is proportional representation. So for example, if you get, say, 15% of the vote,
mhm,
will get, well, 15% of the seats,
mhm.
instead of, you no longer exist because you didn't win, you didn't place first. And so yeah, I think it's a shame that that's the sort of the barrier that keeps a lot of people's actual personal values from being reflected in actual governance.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and proportional representation. I mean, we've seen that work in other government systems in other parts of the world, right?
Mm,
So no, I mean, absolutely, that totally makes sense. Let's talk about other policy issues.
mm,
The American Solidarity Party advocates for something called distributism. Ownership society is another term that I've heard people use for that. That may be a little less confusing.
mhm.
Um, do you have a short explanation for what that is? What is distributism? How is it different than capitalism or socialism? And do you have any specific examples?
Sure. So distributism, it's an economic philosophy, and it champions the idea that the means of production should be widely owned. So wide ownership is going to be sort of the lingo that comes up a lot if you're, searching up distributism and what it means and what people advocate for. So it's that ownership shouldn't be dominated by a small set of private corporations or by the state.
Mhm.
So that's where it disagrees with both capitalism and socialism. So when distributists argue against capitalism, um, our argument is that capitalism trends towards concentrated ownership in monopolies and firms, and leaves people as sort of wage laborers, unable to have ownership, proper ownership um, that they deserve. And where we differ from socialism is that it centralizes ownership in the state or certain state-directed structures or those concentrations. So it still concentrates power, but it's just in a different place. But our goal in distributism is many owners through families, workers, the local communities, and local institutions. So wide ownership locally.
Yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense. I see how that's different than both those things. So another question for you. We talk a lot about families, social safety nets. It seems that one of the most important social safety nets is the extended family, not just the nuclear family, but sort of the extended family, grandparents, aunts, cousins, nieces, nephews. But we know that, in fact, a lot of Americans today lack that support from those extended families. How can public policy strengthen and incentivize the formation of those extended families, in addition to strengthening sort of the nuclear family, right? We hear a lot of criticism from the left about, well, you shouldn't have, sort of the nuclear family is used in a negative connotation, right? As in like, okay, well, you shouldn't support the nuclear family to the detriment of everything else. And I don't think you're saying that, right? But, what are some ways in which we can move past just supporting the nuclear family into building larger family structures, community structures that you're talking about with distributism, that sort of thing? Do you have any ideas along those lines?
Yeah. So a lot of people, they don't live near their extended families. So if you say to someone, or if you talk to someone about how a lot of people don't live near their families, they may think, what are you talking about? I grew up with my parents, my siblings, the intermediate family. But a lot of people are disconnected from their extended family, that extended network that has been so helpful for the vast majority of human history. And so a lot of people move away from, and when it comes to adulthood, a lot of people move away from their immediate family as well in order to pursue job opportunities. And, they're sort of severed from the community that, they should be able to rely on the most in the way that our current system is set up. So we need to make it easier for people to live near their relatives, because there's a lot of pressure for moving away for housing and economic opportunities. And with our party, since we want to emphasize the importance on reliance on the local community and local family, feeling like you have to move away in order to survive or in order to pursue opportunity is it's the last thing we want. And so also caring for relatives should be part of the normal work family life, and it shouldn't be a personal luxury for those who are able to afford it. So policies should change so that people can actually show up for their aging parents or their sick family members, so that economic life serves the whole human person and beyond just the workplace.
Absolutely. Not to put you on the spot, but if people like what they've been hearing, what are some ways they maybe could support your campaign or get involved with the American Solidarity Party?
Well, my campaign is currently trying to reach a goal of $10,000 in donations so that the party can be put on the ballot. People will be able to have the ability to vote for ASP then. And it'll also cover the cost for the statement to be put in the pamphlet. And that would reach out to a lot of registered voters. And I feel like a lot of people would like what they see from our party. And that's our way of getting the message out to them. So we'll be able to, grow this party further.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Duane. Do you have anything else you want to add for our listeners or our viewers tonight? Anything else about your campaign yourself or the American Solidarity Party?
Well, I appreciate everyone who's, helped me to get this far, who have talked to me about why I should run and who's helped me to, get more involved in the party. And for those who are listening right now or whether I'm recording, I want to thank you as well. And I hope I will be able to, continue to help this party grow in the future.
Thank you for coming on tonight, Duane. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. God bless. Take care. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good night. And remember, all human life has dignity from conception to natural death.